Good morning, everybody. On a brisk, cool day, it's supposed to get up to around 60 today, but I thought I would come to you this morning and share some thoughts with you. Um, I was feeling a little bit down today, but I'm going to tell you a little bit. Most of you know what happened in 2020 when I almost lost my life. But at that point, when I woke up out of the coma, and I couldn't even talk yet. They had a tube down my throat and tubes all hooked up all over me. But I remember promising God so much. If I would make it, I would stop cussing, I would stop doing this, I would stop doing this. I broke a lot of them. But I made those promises, and I want to try to keep them if possible. I should have died by all rights, but God had a purpose in my life. Sometimes I wonder what that purpose is, because so many people keep throwing up my past, so I don't know what the purpose is all the time. But I'm starting to learn, that no matter what we have done in our lives, no matter how bad the stuff may have been, once we start changing and turning things over to God, we can get back to the community, get back to the people we hurt, if possible. One thing you need to try to do is make amends. Anytime you have an addiction, if it's drinking, drugs, sex, gambling, you need to try to make amends to those that you have hurt. When I say make amends, I mean apologize to them and be sincere about it. And when you're sincere about apologizing, you're not going to commit the same, you ought to not commit the same things that you've done wrong. Some addictions hurt people worse than others. But addiction is when you are powerless over whatever the addiction may be. And you need to surrender to God. Not a higher power, because a higher power could be anything, but God is the only one that can actually deliver you from your addiction. And that's what I'd like to start teaching is, divine forgiveness. And in my book, it talks a little bit about forgiveness that I'm writing right now. And, in 1 John 1:9, and I keep saying this, it says, He is faithful and just to forgive us sins and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And in the Lord's Prayer, if you don't forgive others, God will not forgive you. It's, and the Bible is to be taken literally, not just certain sections that fit your personal needs. That's not going to do any good. So I'm going through the Bible in 1 year with my church. I listened to it on tape, but it's called Gateway to the Bible, and you just download it, and you can either listen to it through audio or read it. Reading, you probably can get more out, but my vision's not the best, so I've been listening to audio, and I think I'm going to start reading it too. In my tablet, I can make the print bigger than, which should help me out. Nobody knows how bad I feel about everything I've done wrong in my life, and it's like a lifetime worth of punishment, because some people just won't let me live my life in peace. And when I first came out of prison, my thing was to help a guy by the name of Gerald Loomer out. I knew he was innocent. There was no doubt in my mind. He was like a bigger brother to me when I was locked up. We ate together. We talked together. We went outside together. Everything we did was together, and I had a lot of respect for Gary. He meant the world to me. He, we raised money. We had an attorney that agreed that he would help him at the parole board, because our number one priority was to get him out. Gary was sick. He had a leg amputated in prison. you know, and he had cancer pretty bad at one point where they didn't think he would survive, and the warden even went down to visit him at OSU. But one day his sister called me and said, Jim, Corrections Medical Center took out his feeding tube when Ohio State told him not to. And I made some calls, but to no avail. He died a couple of days later. I did go to his funeral. Then I started receiving more and more letters from people that had to see the parole board. So I started Fair Treatment Reform and Reentry. This was when I left as president of Ohio Cure. And our number one priority was to fight for parole and fight for those that deserved a parole. And so I kind of put myself out there, not necessarily wanting to at the time, because it was difficult even going to the store and somebody would recognize you and stop you and want to talk to you. But that's part of what needed to be done at the time, and it still does. There's a lot of unfair things in the prison system, but at the same time, we can't go without thinking about the survivors of crime, because they're hurting too, and they were violated. So if we consider us an advocate, we have to be fair and honest and support both. I don't support just for anybody to be released from prison. I support those that deserve to come home from prison. I don't look at the past. I looked at what they have done to change. What are they going to do to continue to change? But giving people a life sentence once they're released from prison, if your sentence was 6 to 15, as mine was, I did 17 years old, but if yours is 6 to 15, that should be the end of your punishment. And you should be able to get on with your life trying to make a change. Some of these good people have families that they need to support. I can't even find a assisted living for me on a nursing home for when I need it, and my health's not getting any better. And my case manager has checked. I have called assisted living places, and each one's denied me. So what am I supposed to do? Go underneath the bridge in a hospital bed? That's a joke, but it's kind of reality. I feel safe where I'm at now because, I don't just, if I go to an apartment or something, if they do, and people complain, and they tell you, well, in 30 days you got to move out, that hurts me more than anything, because I wouldn't be able to find a place that fast. I wouldn't be able to afford a moving truck or anything. At least here I feel safe. I get along with the neighbors. I get along with most of the people, except a few people that pretended to be my friends, and that was it. I'm not going to get into that because I'm over it. But we have to, show people respect, and give them a chance to make it out on the street. And once they can make it on the street, they could be a good influence to the younger generation, so they don't fall in the same footsteps that so many of us fell into. And, we do have a job to do. We need to give back to the community. We need to assist those that we can help. We need to cut down on the crime in the communities across the nation. That's what hope for the community is going to be all about. It's going to be about giving hope in the community that homicides, rapes, assaults, home invasions will be cut down. We need to be able to watch out for our neighbors and, look, make sure nobody's bothering their house, making sure they're okay. We need to not be afraid to call the police if you see a woman getting raped. we need to work on getting the drug dealers off the street. That's something to our younger people, as young as elementary students, and kids are dying from the drugs, fentanyl or whatever have you. So that should be part of our responsibility as citizens. That doesn't mean we hate people. It means that we want to cut down on crime so that more people don't get hurt. So I'm kind of excited about this new group, and I would like to have a 501c3 for it, and have a board of directors, not board members. But I want somebody else to run the group. I just think something like this would be important. Start in Franklin County, or we could initiate chapters throughout the state of Ohio, or other groups so they could work in their communities. Cleveland's got a big problem. I don't know much about Dayton or Cincinnati, but I'm sure they have issues there. If I remember correctly, Dayton is real high in drugs. Columbus or Franklin County is, I think, number 5th in human trafficking in the nation. It's in the top 10, put it that way. That's sad. And I don't know what can be done about it, but if we see something like that, we can, report it and, just try to do our part. People, we have a job to do. Let's not be scared to do what's right. All the time, all the years I was locked up, people kept saying the police are bad. Well, there might be a few bad, but there's a lot of good ones too, and sometimes the bad ones override the good. But we need to realize without the police department, our family's not safe. We're not safe. So I commend them and I thank them for everything they're doing to work in the community. I thank our legislators that actually care about passing laws that are fair. We must not defund the police department. We need to fund them and encourage the police departments to do better training on mental health and addictions. I believe a lot of the violence could have ended in a positive way if the police were trained more in mental health, and maybe some are, but I know there's some that are not. So people, that's food for thought. Let's start encouraging those in the community not to be afraid to get involved. Thank you, everyone. Have yourself a great day.